the wilderness. Eleanor, we are all in this together, Hattie said, though her eyes were twitching. Even if Barnaby is the one who took the shortcut. I am a butcher, Barnaby defended himself. I know, land. This mountain is just poorly designed. The argument turned to who should lead the search for help. Arthur is a surgeon, Sebastian argued. He has the most disciplined mind. Nonsense, Hattie snapped. Barnaby has the most physical strength. He can carry Eleanor if she faints. I am not being carried by a man who smells of garlic and charcoal, Eleanor retorted. Listen to the surgeon's wife, Liliana interjected, her voice rising to a crescendo. My mother-in-law thinks her hands are too holy to touch the ground, while my father is trying to navigate by the stars when he can't even find the remote at home. We are doomed. In the end, it was a group of passing hikers who found them. They didn't see the family, but they certainly heard them. The hikers reported hearing a symphony of screaming from 2 kilometers away. When the police arrived, they didn't find a group of tragic survivors. They found 2 families arguing over whether a meatball is technically a protein or a carbohydrate. Chapter 4. The Sculptor's Sanctuary. A week after the mountain disaster, a new crisis emerged in Oak Haven. Eleanor Hathaway was in the throes of creating her magnum opus for the National Gallery, a piece titled The Silence of the Soul. The problem was that the soul was anything but silent. Her neighbor, a man named Mr. Henderson, whom Eleanor referred to as the barbarian with the drill, had decided to renovate his entire house. The sound of jackhammers and drills echoed through Eleanor's studio, shattering her concentration. Arthur, I cannot work. The vibration is turning my marble into gravel. Move to Sebastian's house for a few days, dear, Arthur suggested, wanting peace for his own ears. Eleanor moved into Sebastian and Liliana's modern apartment, but within 24 hours, she had redecorated their living room, complained that the energy flow was blocked by their IKEA coffee table, and insisted that Liliana stop breathing so loudly during her yoga sessions. Liliana, your exhales are very pedestrian. They lack the rhythm of a creative mind. Liliana, nearing a breaking point, suggested Eleanor move to the Harding household. My parents have a huge basement, Eleanor. It's quiet. My dad is always at the shop. It was a trap. Eleanor arrived at the Harding house, only to find that Barnaby was hosting a butcher's convention in the backyard. The air was thick with the smoke of 3 different grills and the sound of 20 men debating the merits of various wood chips. Hattie, there is a man in my workspace asking if I can carve a pig out of butter. Oh, that's just Cousin Larry, Hattie said, unfazed. He's a visionary. Why don't you try some of this spicy dip? It'll give you inspiration. Eleanor Hathaway, the woman who once had tea with the Duchess of Kent, found herself sitting in a basement in the suburbs, surrounded by boxes of Christmas decorations, while the smell of roasting pork seeped through the floorboards. It was here, in the midst of the chaos, that she found her true inspiration. She wouldn't sculpt silence, she would sculpt the fury. Chapter 5. The Census of Lies. A flashback. To understand how these 2 families ever became one must look back 15 years to the day Sebastian met Liliana. It was a story Sebastian liked to tell as a romantic comedy, but in reality, it was a thriller. Liliana's car had a flat tire outside the Hathaway estate. Sebastian, then a young banker with a very expensive haircut, had stopped to help. He had spent 45 minutes trying to find the pointy metal thing. You've never changed a tire, have you? She asked. I have people for that, Sebastian replied, sweating through his silk shirt. Or I did, until my father decided I needed to experience the common struggle. When Sebastian finally failed to change the tire, Eleanor had intervened. Fearing her son was falling for a girl from the wrong side of the brisket, she had hatched a plan. She disguised herself as a census taker to visit the Harding household and scout the enemy. She arrived at the Hardings wearing a trench coat and oversized sunglasses. I am here for the national census. How many people live here? How many people live here? And more importantly, How many of them have criminal records or loud hobbies? Hattie, ever the hostess, had dragged Eleanor inside. Oh, come in. You look famished. Have some spicy meatballs. Eleanor had been forced to eat 5 meatballs, 3 pies, and a bowl of soup while Barnaby explained the anatomy of a cow for 2 hours. By the time she left, she was 3 pounds heavier, and her blood pressure was a medical miracle. Arthur, she had gasped upon returning home. The girl is lovely, but the mother is a culinary terrorist. Despite Eleanor's census report, Sebastian and Liliana were inseparable. It turned out that Sebastian loved the noise of the Hardings, and Liliana loved the quiet, if pretentious, stability of the Hathaways. Chapter 6. Scylla and Charybdis. The climax of the Oakhaven social season was the unveiling of the National Art Prize. The entire family, Hardings and Hathaways alike, gathered at the gallery. Eleanor stood before a veiled masterpiece. She looked radiant, having spent 3 days in a spa to recover from the Harding basement experience. This piece, Eleanor began, her voice trembling with theatrical emotion, is dedicated to the 2 women who represent the dual nature of my life. My daughters-in-law, who have challenged me, provoked me, and ultimately inspired me. She pulled the cloth. The sculpture was a terrifying, abstract representation of 2 monstrous heads emerging from a single base. One head had a mouth frozen in a perpetual scream. The other had eyes that seemed to be judging everyone's outfit. The plaque read, Scylla and Charybdis. The gallery went silent. Liliana leaned over to Ophelia, Mick's wife. Did she just name a sculpture after us? Based on 2 sea monsters that eat sailors? I think so, Ophelia whispered. I'm the one with the screaming mouth, aren't I? I don't know, Liliana said. But I'm definitely the one judging the outfits. Barnaby walked up to the sculpture and squinted. Eleanor, it's a bit pointy. Does it come with a grill attachment? Arthur Hathaway smiled, a rare, genuine expression of joy. It's perfect, Eleanor. It perfectly captures the essence of our family. Which part? Sebastian asked. The monster part, or the part where we're all stuck together? Both, my boy, Arthur laughed. Both. As the families moved to the after-party, which Hattie had insisted on catering herself, much to the gallery director's horror, the bickering began anew. Barnaby was trying to convince a prestigious art critic that a well-aged steak was the only true form of sculpture, while Mick was trying to sell the circus van's tires to the museum's gift shop. Liliana and Sebastian stood in the corner, watching the chaos. You know, Sebastian said, taking a sip of champagne. After the mountain, and the basement, and the sea monsters, I think we're actually a pretty normal family. Liliana looked at her father, who was currently demonstrating a meat-cutting dance to a group of socialites, and then at Eleanor, who was arguing with a waiter about the aesthetic integrity of the napkins. Normal might be pushing it, Seb. Liliana smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. But at least, it's never quiet. And in Oakhaven, that was the greatest victory of all. The end for now, The Chaos of the Kin, a comedy of errors. Prologue, the summer of our discontent. In the sun-drenched, slightly humid suburb of Everglade Valley, the Miller-Higgins residence was currently a battlefield of literature and lemon tarts. Lyra Miller-Higgins sat at the mahogany dining table, her brow furrowed as she stared at her daughter's school essay prompt. I'm finished, Lyra. I'm practically at my wit's end. Her husband, Sebastian, cried from the kitchen, where he was ostensibly helping with the dessert, but was actually just eating the zest off the lemons. You're not finished, Sebastian, Lyra retorted without looking up. You've just reached the limit of your attention span. And stop eating the ingredients. This essay needs to be descriptive. The teacher, Mrs. Gable, wants vocabulary that pops. She doesn't want a grocery list of activities. Sebastian leaned against the doorframe, a rogue lemon peel clinging to his chin. If I were writing it, the best experience would be the 3 minutes of silence I had yesterday when the Wi-Fi went down. The worst? Realizing it was because I forgot to pay